Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's contributors meeting. I'm going to be your host today. I'm Leo, and I'm sharing my screen and starting off with triage and discussion. So I was the one assigned for triage last week, and Jaideep as well. Jaideep is in the call. Thanks, Jaideep. So what I did, I added the bullets that we used to have for all the stats, and Michael suggested to add a few more with the top reviewers and top mergers for the week, which is pretty cool. So previous week we had 101 open issues, 32 closed. So we're a little bit out of balance there. In terms of PR, we had 24 open, 15 closed, which is better. And stale issues, which means issues not updated for the last year. We are on the number of 101 issues in this condition, which requires some action here. We're aware of that, so we just need to plan how we're gonna address that. So for top reviewers, we had Michael, Alex, Blake, C. Santana, and Mubarak. And top mergers, Michael, Alex, Keith, and Jesse for the last week. I provided the links to the dev stats, so you can see by yourself if you want. And that's pretty much it for triage of the week. For myself, Jaideep, you have anything to add?
Thanks, Leo. No, not at the moment. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find as much time to triage this week.
Okay.
I saw some issues this morning, but I wasn't able to spend as much time to decide if they needed to be brought up here. But yeah, sorry about that.
No problem. I replied to a few issues. I wasn't able to close them, but nothing that worth mentioning is I think it's standard triage stuff. And now we need to decide who's going to be taking the role for next week. So any volunteers for primary and secondary?
I can take primary.
Thanks, Dan. All right, and any volunteers for secondary?
I can be secondary. It's Keith here.
Thanks, Keith. Right. Okay, so thanks everyone. Moving forward, we have two topics for the day, both from Michael. So preview environments for Argo CDPRs. Michael, you want to say a few words about it?
Yeah, if you would pop open that issue.
Sure.
Actually, it was just a few hours ago. A company called Bunny Shell basically offered to help us set up preview environments for our PRs. I don't know anything about Bunny Shell. Their website has the CNCF logo on it, which seems good. I think that having PR preview environments would really help us move things, especially like the issue author said, UI issues, because you can just quickly test it rather than, changing branches locally, pulling down someone else's remote, building it, running it. So I think this could be a huge win. I know that there are probably like issues with making sure everything's cool with CNCF, making sure the maintenance burden on us will be minimal. But at a glance, it looks awesome.
You know where they run off the top of your head?
What's that, Zach?
Do you know like where they run off the top of your head? Is it
No
run
idea. And
Okay.
I also mentioned that like we need a cluster and we need admin on it by default, which may be an issue for them. So we'll see what that ends up looking
It
like.
sounds like, yeah, just from the poll, it sounds like they would run it in their environment, which is something to consider.
That would be nice.
I think the idea is to have this environment for manual tests, Michael, do you know?
For
Yep.
every PR, yeah.
Which is especially important for UI because that's
Right.
basically the only kind of testing we have available to us.
I see.
I think it could also be beneficial, like if, depending on how customizable those environments are, right? If they, for example, come with something like metrics collection and visualization, so you could also validate whatever change there will be to the core, right? I mean, for reconciliation and stuff like that. If we get access to the cluster from the outside as well, like, kubectl access, basically. But I don't know if, but your concern there is very valid about the crypto miners and stuff. I think this should not be something that goes off for every PR, right? But for something like if one of the maintainers puts a label on it, like it's okay to have a preview for that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that. I also agree it shouldn't be for all PRs.
But this is basically something I wished for a long time. Someone submits a PR and
Yeah,
not only for the UI. I mean, the UI, they can supply some screenshots too, right? But for everything else that needs validation, like
for the reviewer, right? So the reviewer
Yes,
can
yeah.
test things without having to check out the branch and deploy and build everything in their laptops. It
So
saves
the-
some time.
Are we okay from the open source side, depending on a company to host that for us?
So for hosting code spaces, GitHub code spaces provides that ability for free for open source projects, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Oh, do they?
I think for open source and projects, they do provide that facility. At least that's what they started with. I don't know if they changed the terms.
Well, code spaces would be for a dev environment, right? I don't know. I mean, that's what I thought code spaces was, but
Yeah, but like we have a strong partnership with GitHub. We should explore that option for sure. For open source, they are pretty lenient on, and that may be a use case they may be planning to support.
my only concern is just being aware that they could go, this bunny shell thing might go away in a year. And if it was
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
I think the idea is fantastic, and I love the idea. It's something to note that if we depend on it too much, they might go poof.
That's
I
fair.
think that's fine as long as our commitment isn't huge. Like if we have to
Yeah.
spend 2 weeks putting together a build pipeline for it, that's probably too much.
Yep, that's right. And it
Um,
sounds like they would do that. So it's
Yeah.
neat to explore still, I think. So
Maybe you can ask them to provide a POC and so we can take a look and see how it looks like.
Yeah, I'd like them to come to a meeting and demo it. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I can ask them for a POC.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Michael. Anything else about this one?
Nope, just that it sounds cool.
Yes, it
cool.
does. You're right. Cool. All right. So moving forward, next one, plugin generator. Is it your GD project?
That is, so this is the PR that Ashutosh and I validated in our
Okay.
GED. So for folks who aren't super familiar with Intuit's internal stuff, we have a thing called Global Engineering Days, where we get a week to just kind of hack on something. So Ashutosh and I hacked on creating a plugin generator.
Sorry, Michael. I think you're cutting a bit, at least for me.
He's for me
Yeah.
too. Froze.
Hmm.
Uh,
Let's give him a minute.
yeah, is that just yeah? I can talk about what they did too. Just at a high level. Maybe.
Okay.
Just reading from what's in the docs. I like it already.
Yeah, we did their project was basically, it was a pretty neat thing that we did is we called an internal Intuit API that got a list of Intuit clusters and basically used instead of using apps, that it was a dynamic real-time cluster generator, basically using that plugin system. And it worked really well for the GD project.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no problem.
Michael
hate
might be back now.
Xfinity.
Yeah, go for it, Michael.
Cool. So Zach gave a good summary. The main reason I wanted to put it on the contributor meeting agenda is I feel really good about the architecture and the way it works. Like, we validated that it actually runs. I would love if Jan or Zach or someone who is kind of knows Argo CD's overall architecture would take a look and just do a coherence check, make sure that we're not going to lock ourselves into a system that is problematic in the future. So that's the main thing I want. It's just a second solid review, not of the code, but of the architecture. A nitpicky thing I wanted people's feedback on is, Leo, can you scroll down to center the code in simple example? So there's several things you use to configure a plugin generator. One is a config map ref. That config map just holds like the URL that you call to get the parameters. The other thing is we use the word parameters a lot in application sets. And it's actually something that has thoroughly frustrated me about Argo workflows, is there are 5 different ways we use the word parameters. So I want to see what people's feelings are about using this phrase input parameters to describe, okay, here are the things that we send to the plugin, the REST API, and output parameters to describe the things that like the plugin sends back to you that you use to actually write into your template. Other phrases that I thought might make sense are using arguments here, and then parameters for the output. I don't know. I'm curious what folks think. I want to disambiguate the language as much as possible.
Personally, for me, I like input and output because it's pretty obvious what it does.
Cool.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. How about just inputs and outputs?
Good. Okay. That's what the PR author felt as well. I just want to get a little bit extra validation on that. So
just dropping the parameters portion and just have it be input, output. I just was clarifying what people liked. I like the words input, output as well. I just
yeah, input by itself is maybe not specific enough to me.
I agree.
I dislike the camel case. Like, I dislike that it's such a long key, but at the same time, it is clear as heck.
And I know Argo rollouts uses arguments for like pass for analysis run stuff, but
which is probably the more correct term, and it would be nice to stay consistent among the Argo projects, but
I don't know. I think I don't mind the drift as long as I'd lean more towards staying consistent within Argo CD.
Yep, that's fair. And I think this is consistent within CD. The only other place we use the word parameters like in YAML like this is application spec.source.helm.parameters. And that's very much like a Helm concept. It has the -p flag.
Okay.
So I think it's fine to drift away from Helm a little bit there.
Agreed. So if this is then setting, if this is the new setting precedence for CD, people should just consider that in mind too, that this could be the new precedence for these types of things. Or
Yeah,
just
I think this would
parameters.
be the new precedent. Yeah.
Okay.
So so did we decide on arguments? Because I thought you have like the concern about the camel case for input parameters and output parameters, right? And how about, I mean, we could also like, have a field input, and below that input we have parameters.
Yeah.
So that would just move the parameters down one level. And then we could have input CRLF tab parameters, and we could have output CRLF tab parameters. So just as an idea.
Yeah.
Then you'd get rid of the camel case at the cost of another level of YAML indentation. So
I actually
feel
like
like-
that as well because it lets you do things like headers and other forms of parameters possibly.
It does give us, yeah. If there
without
were
having to add
things
in
that
top
were,
level.
because right now this is all stuff that we would send.
And
Well,
like the body, I'm guessing that goes in like the body of the request.
yeah, it would be in the body of the request. And then later, if we wanted headers, we could set them here. But you could also do that potentially in the config map, not on a per application. You could also do that at a top level plugin. I do like input new line parameters though. I think for output parameters,
What about, so if you do parameters, why not input colon like body? Or is that too specific to the?
potentially to implementation specific, because I think a lot of users will, like, they'll give end users the ability to create an application set and set these parameters, but they kind of want to hide the implementation from the user.
Yeah, it's fair. Cause like, I'm guessing this gets turned into JSON and goes over the thing eventually.
Correct, just plain old JSON, yep.
And so the API then has to accept JSON, so.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
the
know-
top level is a
yeah.
map, but anything under that can be just JSON. And I forget why I implemented it that way, but there was some technical code gen reason or something.
I like breaking input down into a top level with fields underneath it. It buys a lot of flexibility.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, I'll see what Maxence thinks of that. On the output side, it may be a little awkward. So the output right now, body, the response body is a JSON list, and the list has objects. Each object has a key output parameters. Nope, I'm saying stupid things. Top level is a map. There's a key called output parameters, and then that is a list of JSON objects. So we could, it's kind of implicit that like the top level object is the output. So maybe it makes sense to just have a key called output parameters there. That's more back end though. I don't care about the aesthetics of that as much.
No, I agree with that. 'Cause that's not listed anywhere. I was just gonna ask, like, where's that defined at even? It's like,
That's
right?
somewhere in this file. It'll also be in the example plugin that I'm gonna tidy up today.
It does go into the application set somewhere.
No, so that's just what the HTTP server responds with. It expects, so the application set controller calls the plugin API, and the controller expects to receive a JSON object with a top level key being output parameters.
Okay.
Right now, that's the only key. We just left
no-
room for it to return other stuff.
Michael, quick question. Is there a PR that we can continue this discussion asynchronously?
There is, let me,
Yeah, maybe it's a good idea to just provide a link of a PR in the doc. I can update the doc, and then we can discuss this in more details there.
cool, added.
Cool. All right. Okay, cool. Okay, that summarizes the topics for today. Any last minute topics someone wants to bring?
I had a quick question. So I noticed that we got the 2.7.3 release for which picks up I think the deadlock fix that we discussed on Slack, but I haven't seen if we've done a 2.6 or 2.5 for that yet. Is there something we're waiting?
I kicked those off. I kept hitting errors in the actions. I never checked whether my last attempt worked though, and it looks like it didn't. Let me see what went wrong there. Failed to push protected branch. Yeah, a while back I protected the release branches because technically for salsa compliance we need to, but apparently the branch protection is breaking our old build pipeline. So let me I need to fix that. I don't know what branch protection rule it's breaking right now. Yeah, I'll try to kick another release for 2.5 and 2.6 in a few minutes.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. Appreciate the background on that.
Yep.
All right, thanks. Any other topics someone wants to bring?
Yeah, myself have a cooking PR. This one regarding the cluster sharding algorithm. There was some changes requested, and I have done that. The PR is still building, it seems well. Yeah, and I think I have pinged some folks, and
Can you provide a link of your PR in the chat, Akram? I think I replied and I reviewed it. I think I remember more people adding comments to it. I don't remember what was the outcome, where we are exactly on that review.
Okay, I just sent the link, and yeah, 2 weeks ago there was some change requested, and I have done that last week, and
Yeah.
relevant people.
Okay. Yeah, the evidence, right? I remember we discussed about this. Then you added tests.
And I added documentation also, as it was
Okay.
asked, like specifying that this new feature is experimental and the default is XYZ and so on.
Cool. I'll take a look. I'll take a look at this today.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anything else? Anyone?
Yeah, quickly. Yesterday I filed a new PR about adding GoFMT to the make lint. Should be a pretty straightforward one. I was trying to use Golang CTI lint, which is already implemented in the making step, to run GoFMT, which it normally supports. Yeah, that's the PR. And I couldn't convince the thing to actually, show the diffs of what it would do of all the simplifications and formatting changes. Instead, it would only rewrite. And I looked at the code for it, couldn't see any way for it to do that. So I used GoFMT itself instead and wrote a little script to make it more convenient to use in the make file. So 2 things. If anyone has time to just like give a look at this PR, should be a fairly straightforward one. And the second thing is, if anyone figures out how to use Golang CI lint instead of using directly GoFMT, which would be more convenient. Again, I don't think it's possible, but maybe I've missed something.
Could we go FMT and then fail if there's a diff in CI?
So that's what I'm doing currently.
Okay, good.
But since Golang CI lint is used already the line above where I inserted my script in the make file, I was trying, and since it also supports GoFMT, I was trying to use Golang. I'm struggling to say this word every time. Golang CI lint. I was trying to reuse it for that. But the only thing it will do is rewrite the changes it sees, the fixes it sees, right? It will not produce a diff. And I looked at the code and it seems they don't implement the -d parameter for GoFMT in Golang CI lint. So they don't have an option for that. So I think from what I see, it's not doable, but I would just love to reuse it if we can. In any case, what I've done instead is just write a little script and added it in the hack subdirectory. Directory. And what it does is simply produces a diff, and if that diff is empty, then it shows it and it errors out.
I'm cool with that. It's a nice small script.
Yeah, I wonder why Golang CI lint. I mean, it runs Go FMT as well, right?
It does.
Yeah.
And the problem is if we diverge between the two tools, we might get differences, right? Because Golang CI runs in CI during our CI job. So I'm not sure if having both tools in parallel is a good idea, or if we should dedicate time to see why Golang CI is not doing what you want it to do.
So it simply does not implement that -d parameter you see here on line 4 in my script.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it doesn't have that. It has an option for -s, which you can, control, but not -d.
And the -d is what generates the diff?
Yeah. And -s is for
because there's probably a different way of Golang CI generating diffs. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I looked at the thing. I couldn't find anything. So as far as you can't do it this way with Golang CI lint, but maybe I've missed something, which is why I was bringing this up.
Or maybe if I don't remember Golang CI generating diff at all. Maybe it doesn't, and it just fails and provides a message saying, "Hey, this is not following the standard," and the error message saying where the problem is.
Yeah. So what I've done is before I wrote the script to use Go FMT, I modified the makefile. So we're not using a config for Golang CI lint. We're just passing parameters on command line. So I just added, for convenience, I added a config file and just enabled the Go FMT linter in there, and it did just that. It rewrites all the stuff that it sees that should be improved. So all the formatting changes and all the code simplifications, it just rewrites them. There's no option to just error out in case it finds any. Instead, it just goes ahead and rewrite them directly.
I see.
I think the CI behavior should be consistent with the makefile behavior, which may mean dropping the Golang CI lint action in favor of just a plain old run step that runs precisely what's in the makefile. I agree. Diverging CI versus local dev experience is probably a bad thing.
Is it something that should be added to this PR? I mean, the changing how the CI works. Can it?
Yeah, I think preferably. I mean, a mass update to just kind of clean things up is nice.
I think, Michael, it's a little bit more complicated than that because Golang CI goes beyond Go FMT. It does a lot more than that. And this is what we run in CI. So if I remember well, there is a make target that allows us to run Golang CI in a dev environment in our laptops. What I'm saying is I agree that it should be centralized in the make target, whatever we do, and it should be one single make target that does all linked actions we want in the project. And if we start spreading things in different places, I think it's going to be hard to maintain in the future. So whatever that is, let's centralize in a single make target, and go from there.
That's already done. The PR already centralizes linting under one make target. The question is, how do we implement that in CI? And I think
the other thing I wanted to add to that is that as Golang CI lint is used today, it only uses the default linters, which are not very many. it's a very basic usage of it.
Sure, and I think we probably want to tackle one thing at a time. So I think that if we want to add more linters, that should be a follow-up PR. As far as this PR goes, I think that so Leo wants everything centralized under one make target. I think that's done in this PR. I think that we also need CI to be consistent with local behavior, which I think means we need a new CI step to run this hack script. Or something else, basically, to make sure that there's no go format diff before a PR gets merged.
Can the script just be added to run wherever the CI system runs Golang CI lint?
Personally, I think that would be fine because we already do, we don't call make lint local from CI. We run a dedicated action, which is the Golang CI lint action. And maybe that's because it produces some output that GitHub is able to nicely display lint issues. And if that's the case, then we still want to have that functionality, which means we should just add another step to run hack go format.sh.
So maybe you could point me in private in Slack. You could point me to where that CI stuff is, and because I have no clue right now. And
yeah, no worries.
You can look at adding it.
Yep, I will send you a link to the line where we do Golang CI.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Yep.
Okay, I guess that wraps up for the day. If there are no other topics, I'll give you those 8 minutes back, and see you all next week.
Thanks, Leo.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.